Thanks for coming. I just wanted to quickly introduce Cole. Cole Petersen. We've been working with Cole. I was trying to think of when I started working with you guys. Probably 2006. That was not that long ago for me. So definitely very familiar with AbaData and sort of the whole field ops side of AbaData. And he is going to present today on chemical management, which is a new module that we've been rolling out with Arnold's help, who's also here at the front. So yeah, looking forward to what Cole has to say. And take it away.
It's officially no turning back now. I'll be honest with you right off the bat, kick this off. This is the first time I've actually presented at an event like this. So, had nerves, but let's give this a whirl. I'm the guy that just started right now, so give this a shot. I'm super excited to actually be here. I am a huge advocate for AbaData within Cenovus, and again, getting a chance to work ever since back in 2006. I was actually part of the initial kickoff of the police inspection board within the program that spoke to the field officers. The school to standardize that for me in the system. And I'm fortunate enough today to also have Arnold here, my tech specialist, and essentially on our end, a Cenovus representative and subject matter expert that helps provide training in the field to our field officers, of course, innovation within this program. And hopefully you can hear me. I'm not mic aware or something. So, what we'll look for today is to learn how Cenovus uses AbaData better to track and manage chemical usage across operations. So as you guys are all aware, essentially chemical is one of those consumables you can essentially manage if you put the time and effort and energy into it and make people accountable for the users in the field. We'll see how our evolving workflows and practical tools AbaData can improve efficiency, visibility, and cost control. So before the chemical management module, chemical injection practices were decentralized. Essentially, an operator would go to the field, use a piece of paper, track and manage chemical right, and they'd send it to their lead op. Sometimes that piece of paper was in pretty rough shape by the time they got it, let alone scan it into the system and store it. And really, truthfully, it was looking at it quickly, and there was not a whole pile of ownership or accountability in that chemical and that injection rate. So now we've got it to where it's transformed into this module, and a lot more visible and a lot more accountable. So the new module unites these efforts in a single analytic-driven workflow, transforming chemical management into a traceable, collaborative, and continually improved process. Utilizing the AbaData chemical management module, we have changes from an ad hoc operator management role to structured oversight. We've been able to measure efficiency and accountability in the field. I'm going to establish a unified data capture, analysis, and verification, and the foundation for AI-ready insights, which I don't know if Petersen can speak to. This module integrates field data capture, analytics, and corrective actions within the AbaData E operator platform. Focusing on methanol injection, it delivers visibility from well site to leadership, aligning cost control and production optimization with best practices like it. Some of the two bullets I want to speak to here is AbaData mobile for field ops and the web browser for lead reviews. So the cool part is now our operations go out in the field, use their app on their phone, enter their chemical usage rate, enter the injection rate, the tank volume, tank inspection. So that goes right into the system, right to our dashboard within the program, where the lead operator and coordinators can quickly see who's doing their inspections, if they're done on time, and focus on rates. Operators report tank volumes and injection rates monthly on our AbaData platform, mobile platform. After 2 consecutive records, the system calculates daily average usage, accounting for any added or removed inventory. This produces a consistent and accurate picture of field performance. Operators also ensure tank fills and transfers are managed within the platform and enter routine rate verifications for any rate adjustments. So lots of times you go to the field, of course, you have a set target rate, but something happens, an operator will turn up that rate, and sometimes or can leave it for a couple of days. Some people off shift leave, for example. Now this puts a focus back on that to get back out and fix that. And what we get out of this right now, phase 3 we'll call it, is our usage management. And it literally is getting reporting out to the field. So you get to the point where your top 10 hit list is what we call it. And right from the coordinator and the lead operators, they get your top 10 injectors per field run. So some of these runs that came up, like we kicked this off in June of this year, and right off the bat, we had runs in the middle of June on a low pressure field, sweet gas field, that were injecting 25 liters a day. Wow, we need to go address those rates and let's get those turned around. So it brought immediate attention and accountability to the field to get these rates in line, which helps obviously control costs. Through the web browser interface, you need to review their top 10 results, verify acceptable rates, and set new recommendations. So right in this table, you get a chance to look at the actual top 10 hit list. They get to adjust, to identify and suggest specific rates. And then they send an email to that field operator who will adjust that rate in a timely fashion and prioritize it. Then the fun part is that actual operator goes out, makes that adjustment, and provides feedback to the program. So it's a big closed loop, and we make sure that that rate is adjusted. It also provides us with real-time cost savings once that rate is adjusted. After review, Relief uses the published action to send the top 10 reports to selected recipients, like I mentioned, typically field operators and supervisors. Automated emails distribution ensures clear, audible communication and recommendation. Operators perform that verification event in AbaData mobile to confirm or adjust injection rates. Once verified, the top 10 DTI displays a done checkmark. So essentially that means that the task is complete and we calculate the actual cost savings. Deviations require a comment before saving. So for example, your lead operator comes up and says, please don't look at that rate. It's currently at 25, let's get it down to 15. That operator can come back and say, hey, it can't be 15 right now, there's a hydrating issue, there's a concern at this site, it's 20. At least they have that comment, and that comment, again, will be featured later in the AI. Each comment captured through this workflow becomes part of the qualitative knowledge base. Over time, these entries highlight how conditions, decisions, and outcomes vary across sites, fostering peer learning and operational alignment. The chemical management module transforms chemical control into a living system of accountability and continuous optimization. It detects deviations early, validates savings, and sustains performance excellence through connected data and collaboration. Some of these want to speak to it. It's interesting here to show on the screen, but I'll try to speak to this from here. I can't quite see. So data accuracy without DTI, inconsistent, prone to estimation and omission. With AbaData chemical management module, some of the benefits here: validated usage from inventory change and elapsed days. Six action. Okay. Some of the other examples that gives you quickly is accountability. So no audit trail for rate changes, like in the past with those using the sheet spreadsheet. There's nothing there. There's no closed loop. And you'll just follow up the next month. You see that your rate hasn't been adjusted, review, filled that tank, and throw that. Now we have a verification process, reports, execution, and reasoning. And why that may be so. Just as field comments and usage data grow, Cenovus and AbaData data science teams will apply natural language processing, NLP, and AI techniques to extract deeper meaning from operator feedback. This next step will collaborate with quantitative context and qualitative results to guide target optimization. And this is an interesting slide, and one that Arnold's very passionate about. So maybe at one point, Arnold would probably maybe speak to AI a little better than myself. That's right. Yeah, we do right now. If that's okay. Yeah, sorry.
I want to make sure it gets a little bit better.
Oh boy, and you've got the wrong guy. The point we're trying to make here is prior to sort of this advent of AI, in order to do real data analysis, you had to have consistent data coming into your system. And that often meant drop-downs. Because comment boxes or open text boxes were just a source of inconsistent data coming across. Someone would put a period, someone would put a capital, someone would spell it wrong. You just really weren't able to do that advanced data analytics on new data. But now with the advent of AI, and we've all used ChatGPT and put a prompt that was spelled horribly wrong, and your point was still delivered, and your results were returned. We're looking to basically do the same thing here. Now we're able to, rather than have to have a drop-down box that is populated with every possible answer to this question, simply leave it up to the user to interpret, and then apply that answer with an AI model to get to the real meaning of what the user was trying to portray. So yeah, really exciting. Things that weren't possible 3 years ago really are sort of opening the doors to how we collect data at the field level. So is that good enough?
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, or staff collects insights.
Of course.
Apply our efforts.
Of course, the whole reason to do it is to get better.
Right.
Yeah, and this allows you to do that in a much more intuitive, sort of natural language medium. Yeah.
And one thing I kind of glance over quickly that I should speak to, of course, for us, essentially, we try to look at chemical management in 3 phases. So phase 1 was just getting essentially a tank and a pump from a well in the system. Getting operators to start collect the data, the rates, the tank inspections, that tank volume, right? Phase 2, we got the remaining, like 1,500 tanks and pumps in the system to start managing chemical across conventional assets. And then phase 3 is this chemical management, reporting and use management, right? So that's where we get to actually see the benefit of putting this into the field and see this closed loop process where accountability is put in the field to make sure they're monitoring their rates and have ownership in that. So it's a huge plus for us, and we have seen some significant benefits already from this. Just from those facts that they say, back in June, pumping 25 liters a day, that the average actually should be 5 or less. Like 90% of the pumps in that area were shut off, except for some reason. So you catch that one, shut it off, and save money on chemical. They brought that into focus because on a piece of paper, I'm not even sure that would be captured or caught. And that's essentially what I had in chemical management. Initially what I tried to do for our operations team, like going in the app, we're giving them a view of the dashboard, we walk through it, walk through what the steps are for a lead operator to send that email to his operators and have it close the loop and then they address it for it. But that's more of a training session for our field ops that I think you guys really needed. But with that said, any comments or questions? I'm through. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so I do have a question. I don't know if it's going to be properties or you. So a couple of questions actually. The first question is, does the chemical management system integrate with third party like your suppliers or chemicals? Because I want to reconsider how the word supply is giving the supply to you versus what you're able to come up with from the report. That's the first question.
Yeah.
The second one is, how much you have to depend on people to actually compute those vendors. You have to like sync they have with maybe some of your sensors, some of you, because for instance, when you try to check your open inventory, closing inventory, they have like it manually or they like it has connection between the electromagnetic system and the kind of like the data and content check.
Great questions. I love this. This is the part that I was actually hoping for. Get a few questions. So one thing I can speak to personally is that so we do have vendors that use the platform and on our behalf. So we assign them with, I'll call it a vendor user access, so they can enter their chemical tank volumes and rates, which helps.
Yeah.
And second is I'm going to try to see if I can answer that.
So that's a system that they use that or how it.
So Baker Hughes, for example, or Champion, another chemical vendor, come out and actually have access, user access to our Cenovus managed platform, put chemical rates and their pump injection rates and tank volume in the system for us on our behalf. And the next question was essentially the accuracy or relying on operators. So it really does. It relies on the accuracy of what the operator in the field is reporting. So, but the cool part is when you get a tank volume, we put in tank fills into the system, we take any dispositions out of that tank into the system as well. And really, when you get 2 data points, like month to month, you get a pretty accurate representation of what they've used over that month and how much it is liters per day per tank. So it works out quite well, but it is fully dependent on an operator doing his inspections and getting his data into the system.
So kind of just following up with sir. Have you had to integrate, for instance, the production data with your equity? It also helps on every level. Trying to come with this excited to see how your production, for instance, correlates. Have you got that?
Not just yet that I'm not really helping with this. Not that I'm aware of, but the cool part is we're trying to get this to the point where we're actually working with AbaData and another innovation. And with engineering summer students that are taking this on to go, let's get some of this information into AbaData and plug it back so we get actual calculated rates based on pressures, temperatures, gas compositions, etc. So, because right now, of course, even our target rates are based on hydrogen curves and things like that, but still, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of times we operator recommends a rate that he's known that well for the last 10 years. Great question, thank you. Yes?
Does that actually run the hydrogen curve for you when you make your adjustments, or like you were just saying, it's on operator field?
Not just yet, but I'm thinking that may be a possibility in the future, but I'm aware. And there was another question, so, yes?
Yeah. So I may have misunderstood what you said, but you basically calculate your consumption based on like month-to-month measurement of corrosion, or?
So the cool part is that operator goes to the field and puts in a tank plug, and that's based on the strapping table for that specific tank. Like all tanks, you know, same sizes have a strapping table, and they'll go that it had 74 centimeters, and that, I'm just throwing numbers, maybe 1,000 liters, just an example. Then 30 days later, he goes up and specs that site, and it's got 995 liters. You use 5 liters that month. Does that sort of help? Kind of put it in perspective?
Yeah,
Just those 2 data points helps calculate your usage over the month.
Yeah, so you use like manually subjective data points from like, in real time instead of doing online corrosion monitoring that could be optimized day from day?
Yeah, this is where, I guess I'll call it related to chemical usage, right? And spend versus corrosion monitoring. Like it's not like separate at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, so
Is that?
yeah,
okay?
I'm asking because we have clients that use corrosion monitoring to optimize the corrosion inhibitor use.
I get you.
So
Okay.
they come from the other point of the, so just wondering why don't you do the same here?
Totally fair. Now I see what you're saying. So the cool part is, let's say for pipeline integrity perspective and internal corrosion monitoring, we do get recommended rates from vendors specifically, based on, again, your composition, your corrosion, your potential corrosion rates, etc. Those rates get put into the system as a target rate. That's, again, backed by data and the support of our experts, that I'll call it, from bakeries, for example, or those chemical companies, right? So we use those target rates, they go into the system, and then the operator goes back, and he's just making sure that he's accountable, that that rate stays within that target. That kind of maybe help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Maybe? Yes, of course.
Sorry, I just had a question similar to that, and maybe it was just the example of using methanol. Is it all chemicals across the organization, or are you starting?
The biggest thing at the moment was for us to get methanol set up and actually, trial this and run it. We've got this kicked off and active since June. And we have some major buy-in from our leadership team and our field ops. But then, yes, you want to get into corrosion inhibitors because they are, the $4, $5, $6 per liter chemicals. And you go from a 2 liter day target rate to 4. Those are ones you definitely want to focus on. So it's an easy integration into the system. Yes, sorry, yes.
With you being, yourself being obviously you're an advocate for this program, what's the journey like getting staff buying into this type of stuff? So want you to be like, this is awesome, and then you can hear everybody else.
Great question. That's an interesting question, and it's cool because when I jumped into this role, like specifically where I got the opportunity to help and support the AbaData program from our perspective, was in November of last year. So it's been almost a year, right? And initially when I jumped in, I had to personally experience with AbaData every single day. I worked with every day for pipeline integrity. So I was already an advocate for the program and I knew how to use it. It is interesting when you get out to the fields and some individuals, of course, use technology at different levels, right? And I think there we open the door where we have a subject matter expert that puts on that hands-on training sessions, works with operators one-on-one sessions. That really opened the door where we have a lot of buy-in in the system, and operators are putting their hands up to say, hey, can we do this? And it's like making suggestions now instead of, this didn't work. They're really starting to see it. So I'd love to see that grow. That's the fun one.
The support aspect of it is it's a huge proponent, right, to be there to answer your questions, to help along, because you get such a wide range of skill sets, in terms of just even cell phone usage or tablet usage, right? And, so the human component is super important to get that buy-in. So we kind of start with, I like extending this concept, is to identify ambassadors of different groupings of people. And then if you can get them on board, then they can be the local ongoing support, so the programs succeed. Yeah, that's a good.
How many hours would you say you spent mentoring these advocates or?
Yeah, it's interesting. Very good question. I can't say it's actually a tremendous amount, I'll be honest. Because the cool part is, like, and maybe it's just moving into it, right? Because I get a chance to work with somebody, and it's just I have fun showing them how this works and working with them on it. But I haven't literally quantified that time specifically because it's just fun for me to do. But I think with Arnold's time, even just a percentage of your actual time, maybe that's 20% of your time.
Yeah,
if realistic.
Yeah, because once you build momentum, it continues to build, right? But you have to put in the time and give them, of course, to get that buy-in, right? So, and some people on the uptake are just like that, just getting work. Let me work with this, because I was doing paper records before, and it's so much easier to do, right? So,
and one way that I can kind of speak to, of course, we've used AbaData for extended period of time, like I mentioned. So police inspections, well inspections, now safety inspections. They kind of brought some cool modules, right? Now just implementing chemical for us, like we did picking and batching was another one we did. So our operators are now familiar with the process. It's just now when you ask them to do chemical management, all they need to know now is how do I access it, and what do I get, what buttons do I have to push, how often do I have to do this, and then they're off to the races.
If I may, Cole.
Yes.
I'm Sonia, I work with Cole and Arnold at Cenovus. Part of what we did in our initial deployment was we had massive change management. So we actually had lunch and learns on Wednesdays, shift change days, and had people coming in. So we could get like a big squad of people that understood what was going on. And then it became folks like Arnold, who is so key to it, to make sure that we got that right champion that's right there, that they phone, and that's who they reach out to all the time, right? And then we also bid off pieces at a time, right? So exactly that, we did the pig win one, we did the inspections in another, like we did it in a progressive way, as opposed to everything that they've got now, that then Arnold and Cole are able to maintain with them on an ongoing basis. Just to make sure everybody knows that initial lift wasn't always graceful as it is now.
or it's big,
Pardon?
or it's big,
Or as big, yeah,
which is
yeah,
how it works.
yeah, exactly.
It's been about a year, so can you just talk to your form compliance over the last year? Like where did you start out, where are you at now?
I can speak to two specific examples right off the bat. So when I jumped into this, one thing I can speak to, like our picking and batching report. The guys have been using this for an extended period of time before I even jumped into the role. So, and interestingly enough, as soon as I jumped in, I was getting red flags about our picking and batching report wasn't accurate. So that's a big thing, because that's a regulatory, like for us, right, for pipeline integrity, and you need to have that clear evidence to support your regulatory audits via your AbaData. To get that picking and batching report accurate, this year was a tremendous year, but we were able to do that within 3-4 months to make sure we figured out the actual issues, what the bugs were, and how to make this work. Because some areas, managers are picking and batching slightly different, and you need to make it work for all of them. And car seal management is another one. So we went through an APSA audit. And as soon as I came to this role, the day after my first day, I went in an APSA audit and immediately failed on car seals. So our car seal module and the form that we had in the system wasn't compliant with what you required. That's a quick action team address. What's required officially? Get it in the system, we update our form, and you're done. It works quite well once you, I guess the key thing I would speak to is you try to make sure you establish what's required, what form you want to use, for example, and where it's going to live in the system. Get those 3 things nailed down before you roll it out. Would be that is our main goal going forward. Yes.
I think you came to update to prevent that chemical lines not to get better.
Upload.
Do you have any chemical data regulated before you add up to this?
I can't say we uploaded chemical data into the system, but Arnold,
Yeah, up in our Rainbow Lake area, the governor is working quite well to get rid of chemical inhibitors and whatnot. His main focus was a single source of truth. So we identified the inventory list of what our must-haves are, and then the vendors have access now to data in the segregated area of chemical mention. And then they complete the required information. So like they don't produce their own reports that may not cover the areas of interest of the mandatory inventory items that we need, right? So the single source of truth is what this fellow wanted. So they still produce their reports with colorful graphs and all that, but he has the single source of truth, which has consistency and uniformity across all areas, right? So I hope that answers your question.
So what I wanted to know is, did you have any chemical data that you take prior to November 2024 that you went to complete the RIS system?
No.
Okay.
No, essentially the Bennett is that old archaic. The other things again reform and file it. Yeah, okay. So this is a big tremendous step forward for us. I think, and it's worked out really well. Like I said, they hit those key wins and identifying high injection sites. One of the things I should speak to, and I didn't put it in our slides, is potential future for us, future state. So you hit your top 10 injectors per field run, right? So you think, 10 runs on a field, like Ansel Field, 10 runs. You get to hit 100 top 10 injectors that we get to focus on and review every month. And then the next step for us is really trying to get deviation from the target. It's something we want to try to achieve. So you think about your other 400 wells in the system that are, off by 15% of their target. We need to start looking at addressing those. They're not your highest injectors, right? But they're not meeting targets. So you got to look at focusing on addressing those. Yes, yeah.
Definitely not a question, but can you speak to percentage cost savings and corruption?
I wish I could, and I'd love to at the moment, but we're just at the stages. So right now, when you go through, the lead officer do their reviews, right? Every single month now, Arnold works with them, had been training them, now they do their monthly reviews. And in there, initially they do hypothetical cost savings, I'll call it. So they identify, hey, this is a top injector, you need to address this site. You don't see the real cost savings until that operator makes the adjustment. And once he makes that adjustment, you get the green check mark, he's done. You can actually start reporting on actual cost savings, right? So I'm hoping now that that's the next step, is to get an actual report on what we've saved even to date, because I'd love to present that to my team. It's a really good question.
So when the operators go into the site, is it GPS tagged? Do they move, or do they have to look up to the site?
So, good question. So I know there is GPS tagging and things, but a lot of times when the guys go to the site at the moment that I can speak to, they filter through the specific module they need to be on their phone. They can click chemical, it comes up with the inspection they need to require. You just grab that specific site, click on it, enter your tank volume, enter your rate, save essentially, and you're good.
So that's what you have to have service.
As far, Curtis can totally correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, you don't, because the neat part of this is, operators go on our field and it's remote areas, right? They'll collect all this data, and then one thing they do have to, a key part of this is, they have to go back when they get service and sync their phone to the best way to do it. Yeah.
But are they able to see what the actual rate should be?
Yeah, and thankfully Curtis is here to speak to this a little better than myself. So I will say this, I'm not the person in the field doing this, so it's great to have your experience here, so. Good question.
Is that a manual sync or is that a code sync?
As far as I know at the moment that I can speak to on that perspective, especially from the office, as soon as you have service, you hit sync. You open your app and hit sync. And it syncs all the modules and all the inspections you did that day. Or even honestly, interesting enough, that almost that week, like they can log.
So you got a good bunch of good things like, oh, that's no service, it's actually white drive.
Maybe you guys can answer that better. It depends if you have service. You have to have service. It's the only way I can put it. You have to sync your phone with service.
The option is there. Cenovus doesn't make use of it. It is granting those. It does drain battery significantly. You enable that. So it's constantly holding the device to look for activity. So it's double-edged sword.
And interestingly enough, like you get to the office in the morning, like I've seen this one from the outdoors perspective. And you get to the field and they click with a run and hit sync. And it syncs the information. And then you go and check your inspections, do your inspections throughout your route, and maybe at some point when you hit service, you sync it, or they get back to the office, they hit sync. And it's a quick, but it's not a painful process. And I mean, these guys do, and okay, one second. These guys do their lease inspections, tank inspections, like a car seal, safety equipment, and it's just a quick sync when they're done. And sorry, just one here, and is that fair?
Do you collect other things like runtime? You know, like I would right now, like you go to the pump right the month or.
Oh, yeah, pump.
Or like is that all?
Pump status, essentially? Is that?
Yeah, or the runtime, a month.
Well, essentially for us, I'll call it 95% of our pumps that I can speak to are on. Like it's either on or off, right?
Yeah.
And some we put on timers or solenoids to specifically control injection.
Yeah.
But 95% of our pumps at the moment are basically on or off. And we capture pump status that I can speak to. And then there'd be an interesting aspect where we'd have to capture those ones on solenoids or timers, but I'm not sure how far we'd be with that yet.
Is it either chemical inhibitors or these methanol?
It could be corrosion inhibitors or methanol.
Oh, the methanol would be seasonal, right?
Right, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Right, so then, like those runtime, I just wanted to see like, when you're doing the chemical inventory stuff, if you're also putting some tab like that, like collecting that.
Actually, so I can, in a way, like you say, they're on or off. So essentially you're 24 hours on. If it's on, it's 24 hours, I'll call it that. And interestingly enough, one thing I can build off of that is that we actually use this now to help improve on our, and increase the accuracy of our greenhouse gas reports, right? So interestingly enough, once we put this module in, activated this module, okay, say, or put it in process, we made a noticeable difference in our emissions calculations to like 60% reduction minimum of what we reported previously. And it kind of, it was pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Like our measurement team is pretty accurate. And I'm sorry, I missed your question.
It's going to be the same number of people, or this, just like the substitute rule. It's going to be the same number of people that you do with the technology.
Oh, great question. So far, like we haven't, that I don't know if it's factored too far into our, let's say, our staffing calculations, maybe that's the best way to put it. But I mean, you need a run operator to be in that run. He has to go out and take these reports. Like it does save him time in the long run, and it's in efficiencies, right? But it hasn't resulted in operator reduction. In fact, to be honest with you, I think it's an interesting topic, though. Yeah. Any other questions? Yep. Excellent. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I'm so stoked to be here, and it's nice to see you all. Thank you.